They say technology makes our lives easier for work, to learn, to travel, to communicate. But there are things that machines cannot yet do. Things as important as engaging, putting themselves in your shoes, having intuition, or making intelligent decisions. In an increasingly technological world, we need professionals who provide intelligent solutions based on their know-how. Because there are things that technology cannot yet do for you. The human tech.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are on the 11th of March, 2025, 5 o'clock Spanish time, but Madrid time. And we are pleased here to do this webinar today about the high demand about touristic license. As you know, the law changed in this community, Comunidad Valenciana, and it really relates to every single community bylaws, right? So there are going to be a few changes here for you to learn today. If you're living in Comunidad Valenciana, you know in August 2024, there is a new decree where it establishes and regulates the bylaws of the touristic license. Those who already had an existing license and those who are going to apply from now onwards touristic. The law specifies on what is touristic, what is the minimum requirement, how many days, what kind of quality you need to have, what happens if you do register as touristic and some months you deregister, etc., etc., etc. Let me introduce you here. We have in the upper part of Alicante area, Moody from Bay Radio. Hello, Moody.
Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. Yeah, you got me back again. I can't believe it. Thank you. Do you know the expression imposter syndrome? Do you know what it is?
I probably could guess, but I'm not
it
sure.
Kind of feels like you're out of your depth a little bit. I feel really underqualified amongst you guys, but yeah, happy to be here and pass on some of our listener questions from Bay Radio as well when we come to a suitable point.
Moody, I'm sure you will have questions from the audience,
yes.
And feel free to put in the chat here if you wish, or just bring it in whenever after we're going to do a brief presentation, because we're having a lot of questions. We're having communities as well asking us to do this webinar, and we're trying in 1 hour of our time to do our best to try to make it simple, if that's possible. As you know, it's a challenge. Let me introduce you here, Pedro from Alicante East today. Hello, Pedro.
Hello, Ignacio. Hola, Moody.
Hello,
nice to see you, both of you, and hello, Darcy and Carmen as well. And happy to join you in order to explain a little bit about this new law. And I understand that many doubts on many issues. So I'm really good in terms of being able to help people in order to understand what's going on.
Right. Okay, Pedro. Well, hello, Darcy and Carmen. You're back on the ground here, support. And please start sending everyone your questions. We'll have 1 hour of our time. We could do our best to try to reply, and we can make it simple if possible, right? I'm going to pass over to Pedro. Pedro is going to do a brief explanation on where we are. And please let us know where you are contacting us from and your questions. And let's take it from there, because on the 3rd of April, we have two big changes, Pedro. We have the Golden Visa that will be eliminated for good. And then we will have all these community bylaws that I'm sure you will explain to us what's going on before that date and after that date. Over to you, Pedro.
Okay, thank you, Ignacio. Let me share and website, which is a public information that is given by the tourism office, Oficina de Turismo in Comunidad Valenciana. So this information is public and was given to everyone. It's still on. I mean, you can click on. I will share it in the chat later. And it's information about when it was changed, this law, which started last year on the 8th of August 2024. Before that, we have in July 2018. So it's been licenses of touristic use for properties before July 2018. Between that time until the 8th of August, and after the 8th of August is a different let's say, administrative or licensing rule. Okay, so, and this information, I wanted to start with this, and I'll not just prepare a PowerPoint just to see the public information what says. Okay, and it says 10 changes about this new law on touristic properties. And let's go for the first one. It says, and this is the main difference that we can see on like seasonal, and we will enter in many questions. I think there will be on seasonal or temporary rental contracts, and the touristic ones. And it says solo se puede alquilar 10 días como máximo mínimo cliente. And this new issue, this law changed really another law. This really changed two different laws. And it says up to 10 days or equal 10 days is touristic purpose, touristic use. From 11 days and up will be a seasonal or a temporary use, and will have to be done in a different rules. It doesn't have to, it will not be ruled by the touristic rules that we are talking about right now. Okay, so up to 10 days, and from 10 days, from 11 days and up will be a different rule, which is Ley de Arrendamientos Urbanos, which is a rental act that could be both for long-term or temporary, but not for touristic. So we have these two laws, touristic, where combines these licensings and declaración responsable for activity and the planning issue about and also entries a little bit for a community of owners, and then from 11 days. And I assume that one of the questions is going to say, what if I advert this into a platform and I want to do it for more than 10 days? It's not touristic. Well, the platforms, Airbnb and Booking, they should say, and I think they are doing it at this time. Well, if you inform, and at the end you show that you are renting it in a seasonal way, and you have obviously updated this into the public system, and sometime it is just for touristic license, that's perfect. Airbnb or Booking or any other platform, it is not just for touristic purpose. It could be also be done in like a seasonal or temporary issue, said like an intermediary, really. Obviously, the platform where it's advert or internet, it could be understood and as a presumption that is a touristic purpose. So it's a presumption that could be a touristic purpose, and if you do it for more than 10 days, with all the service, accommodation, cleaning, everything, obviously there could be understood is illegal and is being done with a purpose of touristic license, without license, or in a way that is not according to law in these ways. But we will enter on that about the days, about what if it's 11 days and is what if we will enter on that a little bit more. Then the public information, which is it says here, is the certificado de como propietarios. Well, this has a little bit of confusion also as well, because before this law was entry on the 8th of August, it was understood that it was needed the 100% of votes in order to limit the situation about the apartments in order to be used with touristic purpose. So 100% of the owners of a community needs to approve that is going to be limited, forbidden, or partially limited, or increase. In this case, it happens a lot. Increase the costs of a community of owners. In the law it was done that it needs to be approved in that way, but in anonymity, which do not have any sense of common. So because if I'm one of the owners of the property, I will reject it and no approval will happen. During that time, in August, it was approved this law, which says that, okay, you need to show or attach a document which says, certifies that the statutes of the community do not forbid or limit this kind of use. But in the meantime, in October 2024, which is last year, the Supreme Court says, well, perfect. This is about the unanimous 100% approval for the owners is no sense. So what says really about limitation extended to be able to be forbidden by the community of owners in terms of okay, a community of owners can limit and can forbid, but has to be approved by 3/5 of the owners, which represents 3/5 of the percentages of the community. Well, at the end, has to be done by the community of owners to limit it. But what happens now? Now it has been approved a national, because this rule we are saying is the Valencia rule. So it needs to be approved by the community. But from the 3rd of April this year, so it is in 20 days, a little bit more, any license which is going to be applied, or any license or any activity which is going to be started after that date, and this is important, is going to be started. All the ones who are already started do not have to apply for this express authorization. So after the 3rd of April, as I said, you need an express authorization by the community, and this authorization needs to be approved by 3/5, which represents 3/5 of the owners, of the equity or the percentage of the community of owners. So, in my opinion, I mean, until now, until this latest year, you could run with a license, and unless it's forbidden, unless it's limited by the community, it's okay. Even though from the 8th of August, you needed to start, get a certification from the community in order to understand that there is no limited or forbidden. But from the 3rd of April this year, and this is a different rule, it's not this rule that we are talking about, it's going to be needed express authorization, which is going to be, at the end, is going to be the end of new licenses of gun community of owners, because unless you invest in a property that more than 3/5 have the same intention, or you buy a building where you own everything, well, you will be able to do it, obviously. But if you buy a small apartment, which is a community of owners, and 3/5 of the owners are residential, local, or they just don't want anyone who use your property. You use your property in an activity of tourism. Well, that will be able to do it easily, to forbid and for you to not to have an express authorization on this. Okay, let's
Pedro, before you go, could you please? They're asking if you could please share on the chat the website code, so they could carry on and follow with your presentation. Because Angela, hello Angie,
yeah, let me do
is
it
saying
because I'm sharing. I don't know if I can do it, but
copy and paste the link if possible.
I'll do one thing. Let me just.
Yeah.
Okay. You can see here. I mean,
I don't know if they're watching from an email, from a mobile. Probably they cannot read it. But
Okay.
if you just click the
thing.
chat, yeah, and they could follow where to follow. Right, Angie, here you have. You guys could just go into the chat bottom here. You click chat and then copy and paste in your navigator, just to explore a little bit more what Pedro is trying to explain today. Okay.
Okay, and then let's run a little bit, because inscription on the registry ends in 5 years. It says really from the 8th of August, already those ones who already got it is going to is already renewed until the 8th of August 2019, or whatever applies after that and get a license. The license will authorize you to have it before renewal and another 5 years. Well, this gives me a little bit of information that I have some doubts on this. Okay, those ones who already got it before the 8th of August, perfect, is renewed. You know that you have a license until the 8th of August 2029. But what it doesn't say in this law, is that what if a municipality, whenever you're going to renew it, what if that local municipality says, in that area where you have a license, we have approved a new law that says that it's not compatible to have a touristic apartment or property. So if you need to renew, you will have to get this information from the municipality, and maybe accordingly to some rules that the municipality may arise or may approve. So you will not be longer be renewed by this municipality because it was approved by this municipality. These new planning rules on this. So this, in my opinion, does not give a lot of security for those ones who already got it, and is an expectation that is going to be after 5 years is going to be able to be renewed easily or not by declaración responsable of starting the activity, and we have to have more effort in order to renew. I don't like this, and I don't like these 5 years because in my opinion also it worries me in case that what if it's not renewed because I cannot renew because it has been approved. I cannot be renewed in that area where I have a property. Who do I claim because of this damage I'm suffering because I invested in a property and I spent a lot of money in a property and now I cannot because I wanted, and the intention was for the activity of purpose in order to rent it in touristic use, and now I cannot do it. Well, this year, 5 years, worries me because obviously we will see in the future, but can give me a possibility that I will not be able to claim this because the time to claim has expired from the date of approval, which is it's something that Ignacio will have to study in the following years, probably before the 8th of August in 2029. But it's something that it worries me once I read this. I'm talking about a point of view as a barrister. Okay, and let's go on. I mean, autorregistro de viviendas de uso turístico, there's another to be registered or unregistered. There's another, we will show another link about this in order to do this way. Listado oficial de empresas turísticas. Well, one of the, let me stop sharing now. I will share on another web, and this is another website. No, this is the same one. Just a minute. I think it's this one. Okay. Okay, here we are. Okay, and viviendas de uso turístico. So this is we're entering in the registry of the tourism. And let's go to the province of, we are in Alicante. I know Moody is in Javea. Let's go to Javea, Xavia, in Valencian dialect, in Javea. And let's see how many properties are in Javea in this case. So I can see that it takes a little bit more time.
Quite a
but
lot.
I just wanted everyone to know, I mean, this is public. All these properties are in Javea with a license. Okay. I don't know. I mean, we can't see any of this. If someone wants you to see any of it, and then you can click on any one of them. Just the example, this one, and then there is a cadastral reference, and so I could be able. I can check a property. But what is important, what I wanted to say is that about this specific information that says here, número de inscripción or vivienda, what is has a special, this is like a matrícula of a car, like a plate of a car. It's like this is, it identifies you. So the new law says you need to specify, and wherever you advert, you need to specify where the property is, and you need to show this, like you have this kind of plate, this kind of number. Okay. What happens is that what I'm saying, I mean, I've been looking at the Airbnb, for example, or some of the, it doesn't show that. I understand that maybe whenever you're gonna do it, whenever you're gonna instruct and make a reservation on this, maybe it's given to you. But what the law says is that whenever you advert, you must give exactly location of the property, and you must give exactly information about that you have this inscription and property and this.
Pedro, sorry to interrupt. For people who are following you, are you using the same website? You just share it? Or is that a new website you need to share
There
now?
should be a different one. Let me just click
Yeah,
again.
so people could follow you and copy and paste in their webinar, in
This is
their navigator.
exactly. This is like simple.
Yeah, the straight link. Yeah. Even though it's going to be recorded, but later on, unfortunately, all these links are not showing in the recorded video. But yes.
Let me show it. Let me share it. Probably this one is better. So what I wanted to show it really is that I think is the one we were seeing. Okay.
Right, I think
Okay.
people might be able to see cindy.gva.es. Okay, for those who are not able to watch and read.
Let's enter it now. Well, we were saying Javier, or you want a different, someone wants a different municipality and we check it. And let's say it again, Xavier. Well, okay. What I wanted to say with this is that and this is important because it could be like a fine, and you need to mention in your OVED about location, and it's important to show that you have obviously a registry. Okay.
But Pedro, before you go, people need to understand or make their own plan about whether they want to rent it more than 11 days. So we are out of registration where you could rent it out for short term, or if you want to do less. And some of those, Pedro, might want to do in the summer specific and in the winter specific. So I think that's where everybody is in at the moment.
Yeah,
everybody.
What I say to clients is that obviously there is a link in order to say, well, to inform, I'm going to use the touristic license for this time, this month, and the rest of the months, I'm going to use it like a property, and you could be able to use it as a seasonal or temporary. What can be done is that to have 1 year activity of the tourism and then rent it as a seasonal. That's gonna be done. That obviously is under or against this law. Or obviously that period of time doing it in a way that is seasonal, and then you do it with a touristic without a license, for example. So in terms it's good to inform the Registro Turismo, where we can also link where you can do this kind of information that you should be doing that, but it's legal to rent in a seasonal way. Absolutely. I mean, if this means that is, but I'm doing it to people, clients that come here for tourism, there's not a problem. It's been always like that in Spain. Really, it says seasonal contracts could be done by employment, could be done by studies, could be done by health care. For example, you go to a place in order to, but with a specific. I think there's a question in the chat, and that is, do you need to expressly say about the concept? Absolutely, it's needed. It's important. And but is seasonal also could be done by tourism. What the line has been written by these new laws is up to 10 days touristic. You need a license. From 11, you need to worry about this urban law because it's an urban property, and this is where it cannot be heuristic in this case. And it applies to the agreement by parties and applies for urban or rental urban act in this case. It's like long-term contract, seasonal contract, and then we have a touristic issues. Okay.
So Pedro, we have, just to make it clearer to the audience, we have the long-term rental, which is more than a year. The short-term rental that obviously will go from 11 days to 1 year. And we have the touristic, which is less than 11 days, that it must comply with the community regulations. We're talking from Comunidad Valenciana, since a lot of you are asking questions. What Pedro is stating now and saying is about the Comunidad Valenciana. Right now, the horizontal property is the community bylaws that will come into force on the 3rd of
Yes,
April of this
that's
year. This is
another,
national.
exactly. That's another law. I mean, it's a rental property. It's rules about the community of owners and rules about community of owners from the 3rd of April. Any new license, I repeat, any new license or anyone who wants to use the property for a touristic purpose with a license will need for sure an express authorization by the committee of owners that is being approved at least by 3/5 of the owners, which represent 3/5 of the percentage of the ownership of a community. So until now, there is no needed an express authorization. From the 3rd of April is needed an express authorization. Okay.
Pedro, let me just, I'm probably Moody, just interrupt us, please, if you have some questions. But I think I would like to refresh people because we've got a whole bunch of people here listening. Some of them already, Pedro, already have a license. Some of them are already trying to apply for a license. Some of them are trying to rent for long term. Some of them for short term, but more than 11 days up to after 1 year. So we're talking about a big variety of issues, which we could make it simple and try to make them understand. Some of them, Mary is asking here that if you're renting out more than 6 months, can the tenant claim for a long-term contract with all the bylaws? This is a different, Pedro, completely. So we're having a lot of issues with different scenarios, you see. But I will try to make it very simple. For those less than 11 days, you need a license. More than 11 days, or just a mixture, you need to inform the registry. More than 11 days and less than a year is short term. You have a specific contract for it. And if it's not really true, Mary, the tenant could contest through the courts that is a long-term rental contract, but this is a court case. And for those more than a year, obviously the long-term rental contract. This is trying to make things very simple. Pedro, I don't know, Moody, I don't know if you want to mention something or you're okay now?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes, I got a couple of questions. I won't keep you long because I know we have a few in the chat as well. By the way, I think I replied to Brian, who was asking about the 3/5. That is 60%, right?
Yes.
I'm having a crisis of confidence. Yeah, I told him it's 60%, as in 6 out of 10. So that's right. Also, now this is Rita, who is asking about renting out a single room, perhaps if the owner of the property is still there. And I know people do that on Airbnb and the like. Does that come under this?
It's absolutely forbidden to rent rooms on terms of with a license. No, cannot be.
With a touristic license, it is prohibited, Moody.
For any length of time.
Cannot be done.
I mean, you could only do long rent.
Well, it could be, but with the rooms also could be in some terms also temporary in some ways.
More than 11 days. Sorry, Pedro. More than 11 days. Yeah.
Exactly. But it has to have a real reason. I mean, there are a lot of fraud. There is a lot of fraud in these cases, and this is in Comunidad Valenciana is being clear about the rooms, about it's forbidden to do it with a touristic purposes. Okay.
For any length of time, for any amount of days.
But there is a specific contract, Moody, for habitación, which is co-living, right? And you could have a proper contract. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it because it's legal according to civil. The only thing that touristic is trying, I mean, the whole point of the touristic, I guess, is trying for those who try to compete with hotels. They basically request now a pretty much similar quality on legalization of your property, etc., etc. So the property has to be, if you go into the law, you will see the annex number 3 of this decree in August 2024. It will tell you the requirements of that property. It will tell you that you need to have 2 heatings at least. You need 2 air conditioning. You need to have a minimum of quality. So obviously, this doesn't involve caravans, camping, or even boats. Okay, but yes, Moody. I don't know if you mentioned you have another question as well.
Just very quickly, yes, because it has been in the news, this obviously, and I think Carl may have seen stories on the possible fines. Is that correct? It could be up to 600,000 euros. That would be an extreme case, I'm sure. But any idea of the size of the penalties?
Well,
Yeah,
I don't know, Pedro, you have
Just
the
speculation, I
bylaws with
guess.
you here.
yeah, I've been checking about that fines. I mean, obviously the law says up to 600,000 euros.
Yeah.
I mean, this website I said in public, it says also that. And obviously there's leves graves, muy graves, which is a,
Mhm.
it could be up to that. Obviously, if it's done things like in terms of because of, for example, renting the rooms, it could be very grave. What we how would I say in English?
Yeah, serious.
Serious
Yeah,
or very serious in this
offense.
case, or and also in terms of you do not show which is the location and you do not advert that you have a license, and this is a public information really on this. There is a lot of issues that could handle that you are rejected on keeping the license. For example, if you apply for licenses and you make a declaration and in 2 months you don't start activity, and when I mean start activity is that you do things in order to start, it doesn't have to have a client, but if in terms of you start activity, you open really the shop in this case. If in 2 months has not been started, then it could be rejected. Or if in 1 year, for example, someone has applied for license, have everything accordingly to get a license and start activity, but has not started activity for a year, has not done anything in a year time, no activity at all, no adverts, no trying to get clients, not anything in 1 year, also could be rejected.
Right.
But in terms of fines, it could be up to, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. And we are talking about is many owners that have properties, but also there are a lot of companies that are receiving these properties in order to be managed. So I understand in many issues are going to happen for this kind of companies that do not comply for the rules.
Okay. Right. Thank you. I'll let you get on because I know there are other questions in the chat there.
Yeah, I'm just I'm saying I think people are joining in and they're probably missing a lot of information that we already share with them. You see, but I mean, we could go on and on and on. But just to make it simple again, up to 10 days touristic, okay, more than 11 days up to 1 year could be short term, more than 1 year is a long-term rental. Okay, so let's face it, make it very simple for you to understand this is okay, the situation. Now, as Pedro stated, less than 10 days you need a license. Obviously, I mean, I don't know if some of you are asking whether you could do with a contract. Well, less than 11 days, you cannot. I mean, you could do a contract, but that anyway, I mean, it could be contract with a booking, it could be a contract because there are contracts, even though it's not properly on writing, but you've got the platforms offer and accept. But you just bear in mind the requirements for less than 11 days are specific. So you need to have all the license in place. Then you need to have the building the habitation license. Then you need to have the compatible license and certificate. You need to have the license that they grant you an AT, Apartamento Turístico license to it. You need to have a reference number for your booking. And then if you already had that license, you need to update or just report it to the portal whether you are doing more than 11 days and what is specific. Okay, that's another bit of a nightmare that you need to do, updating the portal, the GVA. And we're talking about Comunidad Valenciana, right? So I hope it's clearer, right? That, but Pedro, I don't know if you could just share with us as well in the chat the link where the law, the decree in, I think is the 6th of August 2024, Diario Oficial, right? Where people could copy and paste. I don't know if you've got it with you. If not, I could share it.
Yes.
Right. Right. Now, we're talking about Comunidad Valenciana, and this is just the regulation for okay, again, touristic. Now you're going to end up having an extra problem, not only Comunidad Valenciana, but the whole Spain, about the community of owners. For those of you who have a property in that community, the community, as Pedro stated, has a saying after the 3rd of April 2024. They need to authorize you, right, to have this activity in the building, right? Before that, I think Pedro mentioned there was a presumption, a limitation that if 3/5, which is what Moody said, 60% of the community stated that they don't allow that activity, then it could not happen. But now let's face the future. After the 3rd of this April 2024, you will need to request that authorization, and then you'll ask me, Ignacio, what happens if they don't do it or I don't request it? Okay, well, then you don't have the permit. As simple as that. Okay, would your community do anything? No, they could always tell you how to trade like that. Let's bear in mind, this is an economical activity. Okay, this activity is being declared on your income tax return, or if you're running through a company from your business. So Pedro, here we have Armando as well asking questions about license from 2018. Pedro, I think the license, depending on the town hall, needs to be renewed every 5 years. Is that correct, Pedro? Or some of them didn't have that limitation?
Well, before the law 2018, the requirements were solved, and from that date until the 8th of August 2024, the requirements were higher, and then from now it's been a lot more higher than before. So, but those ones who already got it, obviously they're going to keep it, and they're going to keep it at least the following 5 years. In my opinion, those ones, and this is a personal opinion, those ones who got it before the 2018, the July 2018, will have probably higher rights in terms of keeping it in the future in case it cannot be renewed. That is important because after these 5 years, in August 2029, if the rules of a municipality has changed, because the municipality has said that that specific area argue that has a lot of tourism, or because the area is residential, or because of any argument that could justify why shouldn't be given or any more licenses. So those ones who want to renew could not renew it. And that is important. This is why I said at the beginning that this could be a probably problem in the future.
But Pedro, what they might do is just double check the document with the license, whether it says on writing any limitation. They could even double check with the town hall as well, because everybody from this chat is different from different village, different city. And obviously, I know in some areas they're being blocked, like Alicante for 2 years. I think Denny as well in the center. Javier, I think Javier there is blocked as well, but they're opening again. But Armando, basically here your question. It's nice to see you from this chat. Just double check whether he's on writing any limitation on that license. If not, just double check with the town hall. It's always worth having it. But as Pedro said, you might be the lucky one who doesn't have.
We have also from Liena, that's the 3/5 of the community authorization refers also to the urbanizations of villas and townhouses or just apartment complexes. So it is in terms of if the property belongs to a community of owners. So you have your own property, 100%. You are the owner privately of that property, but also you have like a quotee, like a shareholder of a area of communal area, like swimming pool, tennis court, or whatever, a garden, whatever. So it's just for properties that have a community of owners. It doesn't. It could be an apartment, could be a flat, could be also maybe like a town hall, at least if on the title of the property appears that you are also private owner of the property, and as well you are part of a community of owners where you have a small percentage of a shareholder. So normally it is for apartments, normally it's for flats, and normally villas or townhouses are not part of a community of owners. I would say 99% of the situations, but we've seen many situations that are part of a community of owners in these cases.
Pedro, so my conclusion, an early conclusion here, okay, being practical, like all of us, we all of us had some interest on all this, made a business, buying a property. Now, the conclusion, what probably the government's trying to do is, if you already have individual properties, this will not affect you if the urban land where your villa is sitting now, obviously, is compatible with the bylaws of the town hall. So that means if you have a villa or you don't have a community, you get rid of the problem about asking for permission. That's number one, which is very important, right? Then number two, depending where your villa or your property is, you obviously need a license. If you're in Comunidad Valenciana, you need a license, but subject to your specific town hall and the area that they allow. If by some reasons you're in a block of apartments, then you have two issues to deal with, or several probably. One will be the community, one will be the town hall, whether it's compatible or not, whether you've got the property with very well accurate and the due diligence carry out properly. And so it's a different specific scenario for every one of us. Okay, with all this information, I think you really need to seek advice on the specific, but to make it very, very simple, as I said, depends on where you are. You probably all these laws will affect you or will not affect you at all. Okay, if we're talking about different cities, Pedro, different communities, they will have, like Murcia or like other regions, they will have another requirements as well. Okay, so Pedro, would you like to carry on? I don't know if Moody has more questions here, but
I spotted one in the chat, which am I allowed to steal it? And just because it was kind of follows on from the single room thing. I think this was Pia asking about if you have, because some of the fancy properties do have a self-contained apartment within the property or maybe on the grounds. Where does that come into things?
Where are you, Moody? We lost you.
Oh, sorry.
What number you are? What time is the question?
Oh, 5:33. So it was Pia asking about an apartment within the property. Some properties do have a self-contained,
you're talking
apartment.
about like casita. You one property and you have another property.
It might be on the grounds or even like an underbuild. I guess some people do have that, which they can rent out. Or can they?
Again, if we are in a community and they still need from the authorization.
Maybe this is a big villa somewhere and it's within that they've
villa,
got with a single
owner.
You
already have a big villa, and then you have casita and then the main one and the other one. But number one, you need to have an habitation license on that property. That's the number one challenge especially inland. Two, it needs to be compatible with the urbanistic planning of your town hall. And then you don't have the issue with the community because you don't have community of owners there, but you still need a license to get it. Obviously, again, Pia, if you rent it out for touristic purposes, okay? Now, Pedro, the article here in the law says more than 11 days. So there is a presumption that but definitely excludes.
It is a line that has been written from more than 10 days up to 10 days is touristic license. There is a really important, I think it's a very interesting question made by Irina. And it says, sorry for being late. What if I rent my apartment on seasonal rental contract in winter and then as a tourist apartment in summer? But we have to have a tourist license for sure, because obviously it's going to have a tourism activity in summer. Will I not lose it during the winter months? Do I have to register my winter season clients and huéspedes? No, what you need to inform the Registro Turismo, what you need to inform the registry tourism is that which period of time you are gonna use the property as a touristic apartment, and what time is not going to be used as touristic apartment, and you will use it for personal use, or maybe you use it for seasonal use. Seasonal use, preferably you have a contract with the tenants, perfect, and you don't have to inscribe those tenants on seasonal contract on Westpathers. You do not have to. Okay, so you will not use it. You just inform what period of time you're going to use it as a touristic purposes, and which period of time you are not going to use it as a touristic. I will link it in where you have to do that in a few minutes.
Good. I mean, for those who have access to the chat, Pia is saying una masía. Pedro, I don't know if you read. Yeah, but una masía, I believe, is like a
no,
villa.
it's not a community. I mean, if as much as not a community of owners, is you don't need to apply for any authorization to anyone.
Now, the problem or the challenge we have here is for those of you who want a mixture. So I'm sure a lot of you want, let's say, from 15th of June to the 15th of September, do touristic, and then the rest do long term. Unfortunately, you need to report it to the Generalitat, right, to the portal, okay? And you need to say the specific months you're going to run it, what day and the other. What does it mean? That you need to comply. So the property has to have an habitation license. It needs to be compatible. You need to have a license, and you will only use that property for touristic on this specific time. Now, what happens if you don't report it? One of the penalties, they say, they could deregister you. Okay. Now, Carmen is sharing here with you guys hospedajes. I don't know if Pedro wants to go a little bit more about it, and the website where you need to notify. And this is something about like the hotels do, reporting who's the person who comes in and does the rental. Let's put it this way, the touristic rental. Okay, is when you go into a hotel, you know you need to report, or they report us that we're being registered in the hotel. Right. Well, Carmen is sharing with us as well the website for you guys to copy and paste and explore a bit more about registering your guest here. Okay. I think, Carmen, there is an APP, but I'm not sure if Carmen is using that, the APP from your mobile. I think it's quite simple. If the companies are renting it out for you, you don't need to worry. They will do it for you. If you're doing it yourself, technically you need to report the police about who's coming in on what date. Okay, but that doesn't have anything to do. So unfortunately, here we're dealing with different administration. The touristic is the town hall, building license, habitation license, and touristic license, town hall. Then you have to have the community bylaws. There's a civil, which is not an administration, is the community of owners. You need to report this through the tax office. So for those who are renting out the touristic, bear in mind that from a tax point of view, it might be less efficient because there are no allowances. So from the total gross, gross minus, well, from the net figure, you will pay according to your sliding scale. Okay. However, if you do long-term rental contract, you will have an allowance probably up to 60% of the net figure. So you might consider, because you don't have the obligations, you probably will do long-term rentals. I mean, you need to balance what are the risks involved and what are the inconvenience and the benefits, because you might put on a sliding scale here, you could put on an Excel sheet all the pros and all the cons of your specific scenario. Okay, what about if I need to vacate the tenant? What applicable law will be, etc., etc. So Carmen is here just saying how to register the property in different portals. Okay, Pedro, back to you. I'm sorry to try to make things simple what is a bit complex, but
it's complex. It's complex to understand, obviously, and it's complex to
to understand. I mean,
and,
I'm sure Moody probably might have, because from the radio and from, he might have a little bit more idea, but you might understand Moody is a quite complex, because it is really a wide field.
Oh, for sure. I mean, a lot of the stuff you cover is very complex to me. However, I do, because people do hear, if they listen to Bay Radio, there's bits that come up in our Spanish news about this. And actually, we do have one that will fit with this.
Yeah,
This is
sure, go
Ronnie,
ahead.
who it sounds like he keeps up with the news in Spain, because some parts of Valencia have suspended new licenses, but it's not the whole of the region, right?
No, it is just some municipalities, let's say Javier has happened, and they said in terms of 6 months. In Alicante, it looks like it's going to be up to 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
And some of the municipalities has done it the same, to suspend it in order to understand what's going on, because there's a lot of tourism, a lot of let's say questioning about people who live in properties, in residential, in buildings that are living all the year, and is having a lot of people around the building as a tourist. So it's like a lot of say tourism in places that probably in many ways shouldn't be tourism. And what they've done is just to suspend in terms, okay, what we've done, let's organize this a little bit better. The demand was really high. I think I saw like an statistic. It was like 100,000 licenses has been given until this time. So in the Comunidad Valenciana, which is a lot. And well, it is just to organize what's going on, how many licenses has been given, in which specific areas has been given. This is why, in some way, after 5 years, let's see what happens, because I understand that some municipalities will probably change their planning rules in terms of being able to give new licenses in the future, and also stop any renewal in the future.
So there may be some people in parts of the region that can't apply for a new license at the moment. How do we? Is there any way we can
in terms
find,
of
we can find details of which areas are affected? Is there a website you'd recommend?
Well,
maybe the local town hall.
If I were someone who wants to buy a property, and this is one of the due diligence I will do in the municipality, if that area where I'm going to buy a property and I need a public, let's say, information report that in that area there is no limitations in order to apply for, and I want that in writing in terms of in the future, if you block me and I made the investment, I'm going to claim you because of the damage you guys have suffered, because I invested, I paid a lot of money, and then you have changed these issues. But there is no specific website according to what areas or what municipality. There's not.
Okay, but you'd be able to find out online. Look for your area. It would be somewhere in there, I would imagine.
Yeah, as Pedro said, I mean, when we normally deal with the conveyancing, Moody, we'll find out this information. Now, what is the problem? You might find out that probably is not as attractive as you think. Or probably the price is too high for certain uncertainty, you see. For example, in Javier now, do you really want for that specific purpose? If that's the case, how much is that property? Is it really worth it buying for only having a certainty of 5 years? But we only, again, Moody, we're talking about less than 11 days. So this is the business. I mean, for those who wanted that property to rent it out pretty much like a hostel or short-term rental, then it is quite specific and unique on the conveyancing and the due diligence that their lawyer, as we do normally, will be able to find it out. Okay, but again, the question is, okay, I have X amount of money. What do I want it for? Do I want it to have a short-term rental contract less than 11 days? Then you need a specific situation and you need a specific price that suits you. And then you need to understand what is the return of your money from the net figure, because obviously how much taxes you're going to pay, etc., whether you have allowances because you're earning a lot of money, but if they're taxing you, probably the non-European Moody, they might be taxing here as a non-red tax resident 24% of the gross. So So from the gross, not from the net, like the European. The non-resident Europeans are being taxed from the net 19% of the net, which is quite a big difference to make a decision. And then if you are a resident, so there are a lot of things for you to tick on your due diligence when you do buy a property for this specific purpose. So it is a bit of a challenge, but we are clear. I mean, if any of the audience here are trying to buy a property, my recommendation here to do their homework with this specific, asking all these questions on the appointment with a lawyer, bits and pieces, and then I'm sure it's worth paying the consultation because it will save you, I'm sure, a lot of problem and regretting. But again, Moody, we cannot guarantee the future. This is like the laws, the taxation. Inheritance tax now in the community is big allowance. Now, how long is going to last that? Well, as long as you say, a piece of string, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
As long as a piece of string, yeah? But you don't know whether the next government is going to change these bylaws and do something different. But again, we're talking only about touristic. There is a business there on the other side of 11 days, okay? Which is much soft. Probably you'll have much more allowance from a tax point of view. And this is something, again, the government in general is quite conscious about the lack of property for long-term rentals.
Yeah.
Okay. So in this respect, you will have less hassle. You'll have different potential problems, but you could do a due diligence in selecting your short-term or long-term rental tenants as well. The only thing I might advise you, because here, somebody here from San Francisco, I think David is asking question. Can you say more about the rules for renting from 11 to 365? Well, yeah, here we have, making it very, very simple, Patricia. You need to have a rental contract. You don't need a license. You don't need to apply for permission on the community, okay? Because it's a long-term rental if it's more than 1 year, or short-term, and you don't need to register more than in the land registry, okay? So now taxation-wise, better. So it's good and worth it. Doing a calculation, you'll have more allowances. And now the only, probably, let's put it like in the balance, an inconvenient is if there is a breach of contract, what is the procedure you normally will go through? How long is it going to take to go through the courts? How much money do I ask them as a bail or retainer to guarantee they're not going to let me down? Etc., etc. So again, the whole picture is wide, but we can narrow it down. Pedro, I don't know if you want to mention anything else, because we're having hundreds and hundreds of questions here. I don't know if you want to share something more with the audience. Are you there, Pedro?
Oh, I mean, I can read the latest questions. Let's go rapid.
Mention any in particular here?
Well, let's say it says about loss of people. 14 days holidays. I think we explained that before. Before these rules about the touristic licenses or touristic use, it was. I mean, it happens a lot now. I mean, people rent the properties 15 days, 1 month,
that's not a
2
problem.
months. Some are temporary, and the Urban Law Act, it says this kind of use of properties, which is not permanent home, is also for temporada de verano. It says a word in that temporada de verano, and a different kind of use like employment, health, or recreational. So can you rent to those people without all the red tape? I don't understand what is the red tape, but obviously you can rent for 14 days. No problem with that, but it will be according to these specific rules or the Rental Act.
I don't see a problem, Pedro.
I don't see a problem. It's been used in the many years. I've done it as a tenant a lot of times, so it's not a problem. Obviously, it's important as an owner to have a contract.
Okay, we have a lot of questions here, if anybody here, I mean, I know it's impossible to go and run through everything, and I'm sure you, through your lawyer, I mean, I just mentioned here, Messena, we have 1 hour of our time. We cannot reply to everything. I think this video, you will be able to watch it from tomorrow in a website, and then we're happy to do a video conference on a specific topic to answer to your questions. We have a lot of questions. Everybody is different, and apologize for those who we didn't have the time for us to be able to answer within the hour. Okay, this is a free webinar, Matsena, and people who we couldn't answer to everything, and we just recommend you probably to speak to your lawyer or speak to us on a specific questions, or even send us your question to our email, direct email, where we might probably, unless the answer is straightforward, we will need to do a video conference. Because just remember, renting out your property, it brings a lot of points here on a due diligence. Again, how many days? The insurance you need to have as well, the license from the town hall, the community bylaws, the taxation that you're going to pay. As I said, Andrew, here, it's 24 of the gross for non-European. For European is that. So there is a lot of decisions to make versus the eviction action that you need to start if you ever need to do. So there is a combining information here that you need to swallow and take in. Okay, so
I think
Murray,
I think
yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think I see the question in the list there. Is it 10 days or 240 hours? Talking about clocking in and out to record these short-term lets.
My understanding is the let is maximum per day. So so the days for 10 days, I mean, the type of rental will have to be less than 11 days. So it's not about hours. The decree doesn't say hours here.
So once it creeps into 11 days, then you're over.
When you book, you need to select the days. If you go over, there is a presumption that you will need to prove. So for those who already had a more than 11-day reservation, they could do a contract. So they could just have a rental contract, even though they do through Airbnb booking or whatever. They could do a rental contract. I think probably is nice to have it as well, to cover up, to filling everything, etc., and to provide to the tax office, to the town hall or the tourism area. Okay, so that's always nice. With the short term, you don't need a contract. You could, but it is not practical. You know, it's like a hotel. You don't have to. Okay, right. Okay, Moody. Anything else, Pedro? Anything? We're running out of time.
Well, anything else? There's a lot of questions that I'm reading them, and obviously we don't have time to answer them. Please, you could. We will include our email. So if you could send it to us, it will be fantastic for us to answer them personally. And thank you very much for everyone. I hope it
share your email there with the audience, just in case
clarify some questions.
you.
And hopefully we, in the future, probably in a couple of months more, we will make a new one just to update what is being going on in this latest month.
All right, I'm going to pass Moody over to Juan Fran to just play a video here, just for those who don't know the area of Costa Blanca or just the areas. Again, seek for advice. Try to have an independent opinion and make your own decisions. I think there is a business there. There is a potential, but you need to understand it properly where we are at the moment. Okay, thank you, Moody.
Thank you. I'll see you both tomorrow.
Pedro, and over to you, Juan Fran. Thank you for the audience.
Maybe because I was born on the Mediterranean, I feel so connected to this sea, to this land, to this light. Because the Costa Blanca is my passion. It's my life. It's who I am. It defines me as a person and sets me apart from the rest. Yes, it's important not to forget who we are and where we come from, That helps us understand the meaning of our lives. By this sea I was born and grew up, laughed and cried too, the emotions of life. Our land is health and well-being, the joy of living, in our own way, in our own style, authentic. That's why so many artists come to the Costa Blanca looking for inspiration, to capture the essence, that light that defines our character. And not just artists. So many people come here and stay. The sky, the landscape, the rosy sunsets, the warm sand under your feet, the sea breeze on your skin, the mountains, and seeing the sea from the heights. I love to close my eyes, take a deep breath, and feel the sun on my eyelids. As if the light was inside me. I can't explain it. As my grandmother used to say, life is full of inexplicable things. You have to live them, feel them. I had to live in other parts of the world to really value what we have here. I have everything I need. My future is here. I've learned to enjoy the little things, the little pleasures in life. And we know a lot about those. There's nothing more authentic than feeling happy in the place where you were born. And however hard I try, I can't explain it in words. Costa Blanca, authentically ours.